Louisiana All American Sports Show. 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 Louisiana. If the sports you wanna talk about, then listen to the hottest show that's coming out the South. It's Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels, man. They're gonna sit you down and tell you all about the game and make it plain. 96.9 FM, that's the station. To hear the best sports talk show in the nation. Without hesitation, you should get with this and get your popcorn ready for you better not miss. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana. It's Joker B. Check us out.
I'm just so fresh, so clean. Good morning, Baton Rouge. It is a very beautiful, albeit very hot and humid Saturday, May 30th, 2015, and you are live with us for the 22nd edition in this calendar year of the Louisiana All American Sports Show. Don't know why I'm doing Howard Cosell today, but good morning. This is Eric Hatfield.
This is Gerard, better known as Joker P.
And hey, I'm going to say something I haven't said in a long time. We want more of you and less of us today. Area code 225-343-9927. 225-343-9927 if you want to get in on any of a bevy of discussion topics that we have today on the Louisiana All American Sports Show. This is a first in quite some time where we don't really have any high school updates to bring you. Kids are graduated, and congratulations to the class of 2015 and wishing all the very best, both athletes and non-athletes alike, and of course to our young people going on to the college ranks, wishing them the very, very best of luck. And we'll have a little discussion about some folks who we've covered here on Louisiana All American Sports, moving on to the college ranks later on today. Before we launch into, as I like to call it, our grown-up young people, vis-a-vis our college athletes today, Piper, you got anything in the hopper today to wet the audience's whistle with?
Today has been, like you said, it's a great day outside. Beautiful weather so far. It's starting to heat up a little bit now, but we got a few little nuggets to get into. We're going to talk a couple of social things about Cleveland and, not only basketball, but some other things that happened in the news earlier this week, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
Quick two public service announcements, actually. Fortunately, I didn't get caught in this one this morning, but it's amazing how in Baton Rouge we find ways to have traffic jams even on a Saturday. Wow. But I-10 going east towards New Orleans, I don't know what was going on, but as I was going in, it was bumper to bumper. I don't know if there was a wreck. Folks can't drive around here. I don't know. But you might want to avoid I-10 if you're coming from across the river. Maybe take the old bridge or wait or find something to do because it's pretty jammed up out there. Also, look, we're, of course, thrilled to come to you every Saturday morning. But, hey, we're not rolling around in Bentleys on 22s, man. We're volunteers. It's an all-volunteer radio station. We do it for the love, but we still need to keep the lights on. So if you like hearing this fantastic programming that we bring to you on WHYR-LP Baton Rouge Community Radio 96.9 FM, go onto our website, WHYR.org. You can pledge a sustaining membership of as little as $9.60 per month. Hey, it doesn't even have to be that much. We appreciate anything that you, the listeners, can donate to keep WHYR on the air. That's WHYR.org. Sign up. Go ahead. $9.60 a month. There's a couple of cups of coffee at Starbucks. You won't miss it, and you get more of us. So anyway, look, getting back to the world of sports, our grown young people, our LSU Tigers, are in the NCAA tournament. They're in the big dance. And yesterday they faced Lehigh and really laid the smackdown on them in their first game of the 2015 NCAA baseball tournament, winning 10-3. They did fall behind early, 2-0, which was somewhat surprising. Lehigh has really had they're one of the. I mean, LSU's the number 2 overall seed in the tournament. Lehigh is kind of just there because they won their conference tournament.
Right.
It's kind of this is kind of their World Series, so to speak. Anyway, they got up 2-0, and I hope they enjoyed their 15 minutes of fame because LSU laid the smackdown, rallied back, stole 8 bases in the game yesterday, and waited out the rain delay and pulled ahead to win the first game of that series. So they defeated the Lehigh Mountain Hawks. The Mountain Hawks will go to the losers bracket and face Tulane. LSU will face UNC Wilmington in the regional. The LSU UNC Wilmington game And UNC Wilmington, by the way, clobbered Tulane 10-1, so this is a quality team. But that game will be at 8 o'clock tonight. It will be on SEC Network. It will also be streaming on ESPN3. Radio, it'll be available on Eagle 98.1 FM here in Baton Rouge. So, no word on who the starter is going to be for LSU. I'm probably guessing they pitch Alex Lang in this case, since that would push them to Sunday's winner's bracket in a double elimination situation. That would pretty much put LSU in the driver's seat, but that remains to be seen so far. But nonetheless, LSU rolling right along. Of course, we saw this script unfolding last year before they ran into the University of Houston and were bitterly disappointed. So I'm not buying I'm not getting my bus tickets to Omaha yet. I'm not booking my hotel rooms, but so far so good.
So far so good. They look really good. I think this was a great tune-up game for them, especially when you think about stealing bases. Those are the extra small things that you want to try to get before you go to Omaha. So, like you said, we're not going to get out there too fast, but I like what I'm seeing so far.
Yeah, I'm holding my bated breath. Quick note is that Alden Cartwright, who started yesterday for LSU, went through Lehigh with 11 pitches in the first inning. That kind of set the tone. So LSU threw a lot of pitches yesterday. I lost. I think after about the sixth pitcher, I lost count. But they really went through quite a lot of them. So anyway, LSU wins 10-3 yesterday. They face UNC Wilmington today. That'll be 8 o'clock tonight. We'll see how that goes. Should they win that game, they will face they would face the winner of the next losers bracket game. So, remains to be seen what we have right there.
Yeah, good. But hey, man, I had a question too. We haven't really touched on baseball, but there's some historical stuff that's been going on, and I kind of wanted your opinion because you're pretty astute on baseball, and I wanted to ask you, Eric, what do you think? What are your opinions on the A-Rod? A-Rod is doing some historic type stuff this year. What are your opinions on it?
I'm glad you asked me that. And actually, I know this is whenever you throw out all things A-Rod, it always gets people's attention. 225-343-9927. You can give us a call at 225-343-9927 if you would like to opine on Alex Rodriguez. This is what I think about the guy. A-Rod is A-Rod's own worst enemy because, baseball is funny. They were kind of complicit with a lot of the use of steroids that took place in the late 90s and early 2000s. They didn't have a policy or a rule in place until 2003 when the jig was up, so to speak, and it was very obvious that you had some players that were enhanced artificially with some of the McGuire Sosa home run race, and people hitting 60 home runs and the balls getting blasted out of the park. First of all, personally myself, I enjoyed it. It was very entertaining to me. And you hear these people talking about the history of the game and the purity, and I get it. But frankly, I want to be entertained when I sit. The average person wants to be entertained when they sit on their couch and flip on the tube.
Are you not entertained?
Right, exactly. And we don't have a major league team here, so you want to see good television, and that's what it brought back. And you look back to the strike in '94, where a lot of people were turned off, and I got news for you. These juice balls and these home run contests help bring ordinary casual fans back into the game. So fast forwarding to today with Alex Rodriguez, he tested positive in '03 in the anonymous test and, fell on the sword like so many of those other people did, and then got kind of caught again with this, not Balco, it was the other one, the one in Miami. I can't remember the name of the scandal, but that other one with the guy who wound up going to jail. So it was obvious that he was biogenesis. Thank you, Piper. I could not think of it. The biogenesis scandal, and it's obvious he was doing something recently. But here's the way I look at it. A couple of things. You have rules in place for a reason. The man never tested positive, although he's so suspicious he was suspended for a year, and the appeal stopped there. So we know he did something. But, there's a testing process in place. The man's been punished. He did the crime, did the time. So, as sports fans, I think unlike these writers that have these blanket, they kind of just sort of write people off and put a black mark next to these guys like Clemens and Bonds and so on. Right. I think we have to use our intelligence and ask ourselves how great, if we are smart enough to kind of have an estimate or an intelligent guess as to how they would be without the steroids. If we look at how they play, how they make contact with the ball, he's still a great baseball player. You know, you don't have to like, and he came up in a time where, you know, in the early 2000s, late 90s, and if you weren't juicing up a little bit, you were giving an advantage to a lot of the field. I mean, I'm not going to say everybody was doing it, but a lot of people were doing it, and it wasn't a secret. And it was a matter of keeping up with the Joneses, and Major League Baseball was complicit. They didn't do anything about it because people were enjoying watching Sosa and McGuire hit 60 home runs and Bonds hit 71. They were benefiting from it. So I find it very hypocritical of baseball to try to vilify these people now that they quietly encouraged to do these things to bring themselves out of a ratings low. You know, they benefited from it. Now they want to slap these guys in the hands. I look at A-Rod. I think he has had a Hall of Fame career. He's not a guy I might not want to have a beer with. Do I think, you know, if you take aside some of the artificial enhancements, is he as high up on the list? Maybe, probably not, but he's still going to be top 10 all time. He probably has 600 home runs. He's probably going to finish. He probably would otherwise finish top 5 all time in the home run races. This is a great. And you look at him now. He's as clean as it gets.
Number 3, I think, in RBIs. He's just passed.
He passed.
Barry was one of them.
He passed Aaron and then Gehrig. I think he passed. Like they were like a few RBIs apart.
Now, did you see the story about? This is what I want to ask you too. Did you see the story about the Marlins bringing him in as a manager next year? They had a couple of guys that in the press that they recommended the Marlins bring in A-Rod.
A-Rod has another year left on that contract, right?
Next year.
Because he's going to get I think he has about a $20 million payday. I'm sure he's going to finish that out. But hey, look, he's from Miami. That's the one place where he still is not public enemy number 1. That's pretty much there and in the Bronx, and otherwise his name is kind of mud. But people like him there. He knows the game. And his work ethic is tireless. And I've heard that from top to bottom, from anyone, even his harshest critics have said that about him. It could be a good fit if that's something that he wants to do. It would also provide an opportunity for him to clean his name up. You know, he goes there, he does a good job.
Have to deal with the press.
He has to deal with the press, but that's a chance for him to reinvent himself. So if I'm A-Rod and I want to remain connected to baseball, that's something he ought to really give consideration to. And you never, 20 years you can clean up your image and change people's attitudes about you. You know, if you're working as a teacher, and let's face facts, the man was still a great baseball player, no matter what kind of adjustments you make for his chemical enhancements. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree.
And you look at him now. Look, he's my age. He's going to turn 40 next month, and there's nothing in his body now. He's probably being tested. He probably can't go to the bathroom without a little guy showing up at the bottom of the urinal with a cup testing what he does. You know, he is the most watched man in baseball, and he's having a pretty good season actually. You know, he's a bona fide all-star right now. So I'm looking forward to it. My whole message of this though is, as Perry would often say, silly mortals think. Use your noggin. Think. Don't fall in. You know, yes, he was wrong for what he did. In your mind, when you evaluate him, discount him for what he did, punish him for what he did, but don't just wipe him off the earth like he never played and like he wasn't an incredible player, because he was.
Yeah, kudos. Well, that was it. But today, as we were saying, go ahead.
225-343-9927 if you want to talk to us. 225-343-9927. Give us a call.
Also, like us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Louisiana All American Sports. You can go on there, and we have a lot of the old programs that's on there, and you can donate and give back. You know, WHYR, we're a community radio station, and we accept all donations to keep us on air. But today's on the sports show today was going to be, the topic was kind of Cleveland a little bit. So the music for today is going to be Cleveland. So all Cleveland today. We're going to talk about the Cavaliers and everything, of course. I gave Golden State too short in the ghetto a couple of weeks ago. So this week, I'm going to go with Cleveland. So today, check it out what I got in store.
And while we're waiting for the internet to queue up, on the back end of our music break, we've got a ton of NBA conversation for you. You know, it's funny because the Eastern Conference Finals both ended a couple of days ago, and here we go. Wake up.
What was it again? Sir?
Wake up. The first of the month. Oh, boy. Bringing back the old school classics. Of course, we are a radio station, so we're going to play a little music. It's not just all talk, and all us 24 hours a day, 365. And of course, Bone Thugs and Hope. For a couple of things that are inspiring that song. Number one, the first of the month is on Monday, not that far away. But of course, Cleveland, where the Bone Thugs and Harmony hip hop band hails from. The Cleveland Cavaliers are in the finals, and for the first time since 2007, but for their best player, their captain, LeBron James. They are in the finals now. LeBron James, rather, is in the finals now for the 5th consecutive year. 2011 through 15 with the Miami Heat. Strike that. 2011 through 2014 with the Miami Heat. Now at 2015 with Cleveland. But I got to say, this year is, the Heat were, if they weren't favorites, they were awful close in all 4 of those finals, winning 2. The Golden State Warriors, or this team is, I would say, almost I'm not going to say a prohibitive favorite, but we discussed this at length last week. I just, if LeBron pulled this off, here's the thing: the Cavaliers, this iteration of the Cavaliers are ahead of schedule. I don't think LeBron James himself expected to be back in the finals the first year, and that was even with Kevin Love. He set the expectations very realistically when he re-signed with the Cavs and came back. He said, look, we need some patience. It's going to take a while. This is a team that had the first pick, had a lottery pick last year, the first pick in the draft, I believe, with Andrew Wiggins. And now, here they are in the finals, and they have not had Kevin Love throughout most of this run. This team's way ahead of schedule, and this is the best job I think LeBron James has done, both as a basketball player, a leader, offense, defense. I would even say general manager. When you look at some of the guys he got to come on board in Cleveland, I mean, this is the most impressive. They can get swept, and I'm still sitting back in awe of the job that LeBron James did this year. But if for some reason they managed to pull it off and bring home the trophy, it'll be. I mean, people can write books about this for a very, very long time. It's almost like a Cinderella story. But Piper, they got Golden State. What do you think about this finals coming up? Because I think Cinderella's carriage is about to turn back into a pumpkin.
Well, I picked Cleveland to win the finals at the start of the playoffs. This is before Kevin Love got injured, of course, and before Kyrie Irving had the knee issues. But I still like Cleveland. I still like them because of LeBron James, because of all the things that you've just said. Even though on paper, like I told T, and I wish he was here. Big ups to T. Man, I wish he was here. T is in Austin, Texas. His daughter is having a regional meet out there, man. We want to send all good luck to her and all shouts out.
An aspired track runner,
right.
Very good.
We're trying to get her to the Olympics to represent Baton Rouge, but we'll get to that later. But I do have an issue with T. T picked Golden State. I picked Cleveland Cavaliers. I wish he was here so I could look at him and really, you know what I mean. But I like it because of LeBron James, and why I say that is because I think LeBron James is still the best player in the league. And I second what you said. The job that he has done this year is just like he's coming into his own now. He's 5 finals in a row. This is actually his 6th final, but he's made 5 finals in a row for 2 different teams.
Yeah,
and that's where the distinction. And Mike didn't even do that, and that's pretty. Man, it's pretty amazing. I think now he has control of the game where he don't have to score as many points. He just knows how to. His basketball IQ is so high. And you could just look at him and play like when we need 2 points. And just, I don't know, it's like the basketball gods are on his side right now.
And they certainly seem to be.
It's like the injuries have made their team even more better. They're actually, to me, playing the best basketball right now. On paper, Golden State had to struggle a little bit with Houston, even though they convincingly beat them. But there was a couple of games that was...
games 1 and 2 were anybody's game. They got throttled. I mean, they got dominated in game 4. Right. So they're not bulletproof,
They're not bulletproof, exactly. And so I think if Cleveland can, I just think the X factors like Tristan Thompson. I think him with Cleveland with those offensive rebounds. I think J.R. Smith coming, being able to shoot the threes and Shumpert on the wing with the
and J.R. Smith is shooting defense. With sense for once.
Right.
That's different with J.R. Smith.
Man, but it's a dream matchup, of course, for Adam Silver. I think he's just, man, you have 2 contrasting styles. You have one who's considered the best player in the world. Then you also have the reigning MVP, Steph Curry, the most exciting player. He's the most exciting player to watch with the threes and just a little man just coming in there. So it is just a dream matchup. Man, it's going to be a barn burner, I think. I think it's going to go 6 or 7.
I would love to. I mean, here's the thing. I'm a fan. I don't consider myself a professional journalist. We're talk show hosts, so I consider myself a fan first and foremost, which is what encouraged me, and I think encouraged all of us to present this to everybody. And as a fan, other than the Pelicans, right now, my favorite team is whoever LeBron plays for. So I don't want to sound like a lot of people love to throw out LeBron haterade. It's so old, it kind of goes into one ear and out of the other with me after a while. But I don't want people to mistake me saying that I'm throwing salt on LeBron. I'm not. I just don't see how he's going to do it. I mean, I've been a Saints fan my whole life, so I'm used to going into some impossible situations, especially prior to this century. So, there's just, you look at Golden State, you look at that firepower they have. You have Steph Curry, and even if you try to bottle him up, and I can only imagine they're going to have either LeBron James or Tristan Thompson guarding him, but then you have Klay Thompson who can hit the threes just as well. And if not, they still have an inside game with Draymond Green, and they have a mid-range game with Harrison Barnes, and then you have a defender in Andrew Bogut who doesn't get, who's not as exciting obviously as the rest of those guys, so might not get as much press, but man, he's a big body, and he makes the middle challenging. I mean, LeBron, who's often known for just kind of willing his way through the lane, he's not going to find it so easy with a guy like Andrew Bogut sitting right there in the middle, kind of like he had to deal with Tim Duncan and Tiago Splitter last year. It's just Golden State has so many weapons they can just continue to pour on, and I don't think
you make a good point. But here's what I think. I think number one, the advantage goes to LeBron in the finals because this is his 5th final in a row. Stephen Curry has never been to the final. Steve Kerr has played in the finals. He's never coached in the final. So I think that LeBron has the advantage there. This is a bigger stage. It's different in the regular season and the playoffs. Regular season, of course, Golden State was the best team. They won 67 games. How can you not say they weren't the best team? In the playoff, this is the final. Things slow down. You get better. You get more calls. The game slows down a little bit. This is the biggest stage. Are you going to be nervous? Or, can you come out and sustain the game plan? Are you going to, you know what I mean? And so, in the last 3 and 4 minutes of the game is where it's going to be won or lost at. And I think the intangibles, I think you got to cancel each other out for it. Stephen Curry, LeBron James, those are the 2 superstars. What are the other players going to do? Who is going to be that X factor that's going to step up in the series? You know what I mean?
You raise a very interesting point about the experience factor, because I'll tell you, obviously our bread and butter is covering high school sports, and on Louisiana All American Sports.com we see it over and over again when these high school students reach a big stage, be it the top 28 or even playoff games in some instances, and it's their first time. You can see the nerves, and sometimes when you have 2 inexperienced teams, which if you take LeBron from this equation, that's exactly what you have.
Right.
2 teams that have never been to the finals before. You can kind of see those nerves, and LeBron is not going to have the nerves. And that first game is going to be out in Oakland. I think that if Cleveland has a chance, if they take game 1, they have a shot.
They have a big shot.
And that is, I think it might be their only chance to take a game in at Oakland, because, they've only lost 3 games all season, regular season and playoffs there, but that might be the one in which they're vulnerable, in which those nerves are shaking out, the spotlight is on, they're in the finals, you're Steph Curry, you're facing the king for the first time, you're Steve Kerr, it's your first time coaching in the finals, people are critical of you, although he's done, I think, an incredible job with that team in just 1 year.
Now against Chicago, one of the best defensive teams. We could talk about that too. They finally fired Tom Thibodeau. Mm-hmm. But Chicago, one of the best defensive teams. Jimmy Butler did an okay job against LeBron James.
Pretty good job.
Okay, LeBron overcame that. Now they go from that, they go to Atlanta. Atlanta was Carroll. Another good defensive player. Who does Golden State have?
Draymond Green. You got to put Draymond Green on LeBron.
You think he's quick enough in his footwork? Those other guys were defensive, kind of not specialists, but they're pretty good perimeter defenders.
Draymond Green
was or somebody like that. He's another good defender. Houston would have won, but Draymond, to me, he's gonna. I don't see him checking. Look, he's a little too overweight. I don't think he's quick enough to stay with LeBron on the perimeter.
There's a term that a lot of guys use, deceptively fast, and I think he's quicker than he looks. But you raise a point. Will he be quick enough on the perimeter? I think his defensive strength is in the paint. He came in second in Defensive Player of the Year voting to Kawhi Leonard, but he does not have the footwork that Leonard has along the perimeter. Although I wouldn't want to face him, but yeah, he's got. I think LeBron can do the most damage when he starts eating up teams in the paint, when he just starts willing his way to the bucket. And that's where I think Green could be most effective. They're going to have to give something up. They're going to have to give something up somewhere. You can't do both. You can't put Steph Curry on him and Draymond Green, and you can't use both guys to maximize your defense against LeBron James, both inside and outside. Something's going to have to give. And where LeBron can tear you up the most is when he can get inside, either when he goes to the bucket or kicks out to an open man. So if I'm Steve Kerr, and I'm not, but if I were Steve Kerr, I'm thinking that's at least going into game one, that's your best chance. Of course, I think we're going to see a lot of adjustments as this series carries on. It's going to be close to 2 weeks, and I think we're going to see a lot of adjustments during, assuming that there's not a sweep or anything. It's going to be close to 2 weeks, and I think we're going to see a lot of adjustments during those 2 weeks.
And that's the great thing about the finals. And the great thing about a 7-game series, it's not like the NCAA tournament where you can game plan one time and perhaps have an upset against a team that's perhaps athletically better than you. But when a 7-game series, the best team 90% of the time mostly wins because you're going to have to beat a team 4 times. And after the first game, they make adjustments. It's not like a regular season where I play Washington tonight, then the next night I play Oklahoma City. I have to play this team again in a 7-game series, and that's where it tells it's not about the best record so much. It's about the matchups. It's about the adjustment from game to game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now, even though they don't have Kevin Love, and even though, to me, and Kyrie Irving has to be at least 75-80% for Cleveland to have a chance.
I hope he is. I mean, it looked like he should probably be there. I mean, if you're looking at his progress, but the only the only person who really knows is Irving, and probably the people with the next best guesses would be his trainers and coaches.
Right.
But I agree, he's got to be, LeBron James. One thing we know for sure, and as great as he is, he's demonstrated he can't do it himself. That's why he left the Cavaliers in the first place, back in 2010. So he's going to have that help from Kyrie. J.R. Smith is going to have to continue to play patiently, which he has, and I didn't even think he had that in him. But that's just another example about how LeBron James makes players better, makes good players get better, like J.R. Smith, who can shoot from anywhere when he's shooting smart.
And and to me it shows it kind of puts a stain a little bit on Carmelo a little bit, because to me it's LeBron is basically saying I got the same players you had. Moskov, Shumpert, and J.R. Smith. But I'm going to show you how to use them. I'm going to show you what you can do with these players. You had them down in New York, but you wasn't, you're not a facilitator like me. But I'm going to get these guys and work with these guys and make them happy, and they're going to produce for my team. And now it's starting to show. Even Moskov, he comes.
Yeah, I've been impressed with him, and who I really liked. I liked a role player who I like when he plays his role. It's that Della Badova character. He can scrap and he can shoot. Yeah, man. I mean, he's not afraid to get his hands dirty. Shoot, he's like, I might not get here again. Whack, get out my way. But Carmelo. I mean, you can't. The leadership contrast. You have a lot of big fans of Carmelo Anthony, and I listen to a lot of national talk radio, and Colin Cowherd is always riding Carmelo Anthony like a pony. I think he goes too far with it, but that is a contrast. When you see what LeBron is able to get out of these guys and how Carmelo just, kind of scores his 28, 29 points a night and the team is terrible with the same guys on there, that is a stark contrast between the kind of player that LeBron James is and the kind of player that Carmelo Anthony is. It can be done. I don't think it's impossible, but Cleveland's going to have a lot of... The basketball gods are going to have to continue breaking his way. They cannot drop any games at the Quicken Loan Center if they want to have any chance of winning this series. I do like how the familiarity is going to breed contempt in this series. When you can have the nicest guys in the world, but when you're fighting for the ultimate prize, 3 games, 4 games, 5 games in, Golden State isn't known as a physical team, but you're going to see their physicality come out. You're certainly going to see it in Cleveland because that's what they have going for them.
You better believe it.
I am really... It's going to be it could be a very, very fun series to watch. It's going to depend on what Cleveland can do. That first game, Piper, is the key. 225-343-9927. Area code 225-343-9927 if you want to get on the air with us and talk some NBA basketball, talk some Cavs Warriors. Also, in other news around the NBA, you alluded to Tom Thibodeau getting fired, and we talked about possible. There's an opening in New Orleans, and I can't help but notice that spot has still not yet been filled, and the speculation was that it was going to get canned. Let's look at a couple of angles. Briefly, I guess let's look at the Chicago Bulls angle of it. You fire a guy who's been successful, and it better be one of two situations. You better either darn well have somebody good, really, really good, if not better, coming in to take that person's place. An NFL example I'll give is when the Buccaneers fired Tony Dungy after 2001, and they just knew they had Bill Parcells, and they got caught with their pants down when they couldn't get him, and they were very lucky to dig up John Gruden, who was at least, I think, on Dungy's level, but that could have gone disastrously. Yeah. It either better be that situation where you think you have somebody better in the wings, a lot, like Phil Jackson-esque, if you will, or where the situation had become so irreconcilable that you could not continue to go forward. And when you look at the press conference that the general manager of the Bulls gave, we said trust, communication. He kind of just threw Thibodeau under the bus in 10 words or less. I think obviously they could not continue that situation there with Thibs, but I'll tell you what, general managers should general manage, coaches should coach, and players should play. And if the coach is as successful as he has been, especially with all the injuries he's had to overcome over the years, and still gotten that team to the conference semis and the conference finals and top seeds over the years, man, you better have caught him with your wife or something, man. Right. I mean, it better be real bad. And I don't know if the Bulls are, they have talent, so I don't think they're going to disappear. But I don't know if you're going to get somebody who's much of a defensive mastermind as Thibodeau, and somebody who can roll with the punches and adjust to unfavorable situations the way that man had over the years.
He did a great job, actually, at Chicago. A record speaks for himself. He's the number 6 in winning percentage in history, in NBA history, with coaches that have coached at least 200 games. So this guy is with a winning percentage in the upper 600s.
Not surprised, but I didn't know that.
And the top 5, I think, was like Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, and one coach we never talk about, and is one of the greatest coaches, and I want to give shouts out to him. That's K.C. Jones. You don't hear a lot about K.C. Jones. This guy was a Hall of Fame player and also a Hall of Fame coach, won titles with the Boston Celtics. One of the first African-American coaches to win a title. But anyway, it was K.C. Jones, it was Red Auerbach, and then it was Tom Thibodeau. So this guy
that's some elite company.
That's some elite company this guy is in. So he's a Hall of Fame type coach. What the issue was, I think, was between the management, of course, and him and the ownership. So to me, it was sort of like a Jim Harbaugh situation where great record, great coach, but just couldn't get along with the administrative and the upper management people and the owner or whatever. So they know he's a great coach, and they know they had to release him, but they just couldn't keep him. We're going in 2 different directions.
Well, let me tell you, man.
We know you're good, but we're not just going to keep you, and you're not going to listen to us. I heard that it was had something to do with Jeff Van Gundy, because he used to be on Jeff Van Gundy's staff, and Jeff Van Gundy used to kind of be pro Thibodeau when he was doing this announcement of the games. And John Paxson and these guys, which he's the vice president of basketball operation, these guys have been hearing it, and they actually was really, really upset with Jeff Van Gundy about the comments that he made, pro Thibodeau. So, it's a lot of politics going on in the behind
If you don't like what Jeff Van Gundy
investigate,
if you don't like what Jeff Van Gundy has to say, you probably shouldn't be listening to the TV, because he's going to tell you what he thinks, and he's not always going to tell you what you want to hear. It's one thing I like about the man. Jeff Van Gundy was another rumored possible replacement for Monty Williams, but I'll tell you what,
I heard that too.
With Thibodeau being available, I mean, the stars are aligning, because you know what, you mentioned something about those guys, Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, K.C. Jones, Red Auerbach. These are all these are multi-championship winning coaches. Except for K.C. Jones, I think he only had the one in 1984. But the point is, these guys all have rings. And so with Thibodeau being 6th, it tells me it's only a matter of time. Right. It's not a matter of if, but when. And he's got some people would argue the best player in the NBA. I would say certainly a top 3 player, definitely no less than top 5, no matter which standard you try to use. And Anthony Davis on the team. And a lot of young guys around him, Tyreek Evans, Drew Holiday. The stars can't line up any better. Dell Demps, move that bus. Get Tom Thibodeau. Get him in New Orleans today. Get it done.
I think it's going to turn out good. It's looking promising. These things always, the public finds out after everything develops. So this thing has been developing here for a while. So
absolutely.
We'll see. And they already have the Iowa State coaches from Chicago. They got
Fred Hoiberg. Yeah, Hoiberg. I heard he was. He's
pretty much plugged in for that show. So
that's going to be interesting. He's he's great, very good college coach. You want to talk about a guy using what he has at his disposal, so he might fit very well in Chicago, but you never know how those college to NBA of course, they've gone a lot better in recent years. I mean, you look at Brad Stevens. I mean, in just 2 years, the Celtics went from being dead, just dead, to being back in the playoffs, and while they got swept by Cleveland, they were competitive in all 4 games.
That's right.
You know, and you have a lot of. I think you're not seeing the trend that you saw maybe in the '90s, where guys just weren't prepared or were going against guys with too much firepower. The number to call is 225-343-9927, area code 225-343-9927. We're talking about a lot of back and forth and wait and see, and of course, as we do every week, we're going to tell you where we were right and we were wrong, and I told you so. We don't have a whole lot of material this go round that we haven't covered already, but of course we got to wet your whistle, have a little fun, and look at how we broke out our crystal ball in this week's I Told You So.
I told you. What did I tell you? Didn't I tell you? 'Cause I told you. And when did I tell you? A long time ago. And what did I say will happen when I told you? Exactly what just happened.
So we have the benefit of hindsight. I'll just say that in the East, I picked Cleveland from jump. I'm even more confident of that now with what's going on in the Atlanta series. In the West, I like Golden State, but mainly because they're up 2-0.
Hey, Captain Obvious.
I've got Cleveland to win it all, and I think they're going to play Houston in the championship. I told you there wasn't a whole lot this week. I told you to be short.
Short and sweet, straight to the point.
I definitely was Captain Obvious there, but hey, you know, we're a Saturday show. We're once a week. Sometimes we can only time the picking and the prognosticating. You know, we can't control when the series start. But anyway, we got our match, Cleveland and Golden State. You know, we have the NBA draft, which will come up after the finals are over. It'll come up at the end of next month, the end of June. And this is, you know, last year was a very strong draft, probably one of the strongest ones since 2003. This year, I don't think it's going to be quite as strong as last year, but you're going to see I think you're going to see a lot of players who will be in the NBA for several years to come. A lot of role players, a lot of sixth and seventh guys who will be sixth and seventh men years from now, you know, even when their college stardust is long faded. I guess you have a lot of quality talent coming out in the NBA draft. Last week we had a guest of Coach Perry Daniels, the recording artist, One Son, who was singing a song about the people in Nepal. Yep, I like that guy. I was impressed. He
was cool.
But he said he thought Karl Anthony Towns from Kentucky would be the first pick in the draft, and I did a little surfing around the net, and I got to say, it seems to be a consensus of all the people that throw stuff out there. You have Bleacher Report, which is probably one of your most visited sports blogs on the internet. Their little mock draft, they had Karl Anthony Towns also going first. So I'm wondering, you know, I wanted to kind of bounce some ideas back and forth with you. But before we go into the guys who are the top 5 picks, I think we're pretty confident that neither of LSU's guys will be top 5 picks in the draft, but they will be drafted. Of course, we're talking about forwards Jarrell Martin and Jordan Mickey, who have foregone their junior and senior years to enter the 2015 NBA draft. Bleacher Report has Jarrell Martin going.
Where they got him going?
26. They're slotting him to the San Antonio Spurs. I've been saying for weeks, months, even before he declared, that I thought he'd go somewhere between 25 and 35. So I guess that certainly puts him in the range that I was discussing. Yeah, I guess there are a couple of subjects that come to mind. You know, you can't help but notice that he took a big step up this year. His stock was really rising this year.
Yes.
He was starting to get on ESPN Sports Center. The team got into the tournament. They probably could have, would have, should have won in the first round, but they let it slip against NC State. I can't help but think that with Ben Simmons, and my goodness, if his game translates even a smidgen to college, what he could bring.
That guy.
And with Jarrell Martin and those guys, and you have the returning seniors and Tim Quarterman, and then you have, I can't help but think that his stock would rise to a solid, or potential, if not a solid, lottery pick status if he stayed another year. And a lot of the I work with Jarrell Martin's sister. I work at the same government agency with her, and I know the guy. He got a good agent, and his name is something Miller. I can't think of his first name, but. And I know that he wants to help his family and do some things. And, when you're a college student, heck, you gave me $1,000, let alone $1 million. To me, a couple of million the difference between $1 million and $10 million isn't much difference when you have nothing. So I understand wanting to do things for your family, but you look at the difference as far as that guaranteed money and the leverage you have going into your second contract from that first contract as a 26th overall pick, where I think you're making just maybe a tick over $1 million a year, if that much, and a lottery pick where you're making 3 or 4 in that first year, and you get close to the top 10, you're talking about closer to 5. I gotta say, in a year or two, when he's watching his peers, counting their multiples of millions, and that money does start to make a difference, and there really is a difference to you between $1 million and $5 million, and $5 million and $10 million. I just hope he does not have regrets about this decision. He's a super nice kid, and I've known him since he was a junior in high school, covered him all the way through, and he's a guy I want to see be successful. I just hope he's making the right decision for the right reasons at the right time.
Right, me too. He's already made the decision. He can't go back on it now. So now what he has to do is all in his hands now. He may have to start a little bit. He may have missed out on a little bit of money. He may have missed out on a few
a big little bit of money.
Draft positioning by staying an extra year, which I agree with you. I think that one more year would have put him in a draft lottery conversation. This year, hey, he made his pick, so now he has to go with what he has to go with. Now it's up to him. He can still make it. What he wants is in his hands. If he goes there and works hard, plays hard, try to earn him a spot, and he has a talent, he work on his game, then he can eventually get that big contract. So it's in his hands. His life is in his hands now. It's all about how hard you want it. How hard do you want to work now? Do you want to get out there and say, okay, well, I may be a 26 pick, but I'm going to go in there and show people and prove. And there's been other people that have been in there. One guy that I see that made a big impression on me, he's getting ready to get some big money, is Damian Lillard. This was a guy coming in nobody never really heard about.
Second round pick,
yeah,
right?
I think so. And he came in and showed, and now he's a household name now. He has commercial endorsements. He's on the State Farm. He has this and that.
A lot of second round picks and free agents have been very successful. A lot of, you look back when the NBA had more than 2 rounds, you had a lot of third round picks who became stars in the NBA back in the 80s, back when they had that.
And things have to line up for you. You talked about. I think we talked about this before. Timing is everything. So it all has to be about what team, what people are in front of you, who is on the team. All these things matter. To me, it's almost like destiny in a sense. Sometimes you can go to the wrong team and be behind somebody for 2-3 years. Sort of like a Jeremy Lin or somebody like that.
Right, good example.
There's other people that came in. Timing just wasn't right at the time. But then the timing came right for Jeremy Lin.
Right.
In that window, a couple of guards went down.
Right.
Coach put him in. He,
and
about 5 or 6 good games.
Yeah. And he became a full-time player. He's got a full-time job now,
right?
Which he was sleeping on people's couches before.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's an excellent example. So the opportunity will be there. And I'll tell you what, if these mock drafts, these guys after the top 5, you never know where they're going to go. But let's say, for argument's sake, he does go to San Antonio. Man, there could not be a better place.
Right.
There could not be a better place for that young man to go, as far as having coaching and structure and the right people around him. So if he's going to go in the late part of the first round, I hope that Popovich reaches and gets this guy. And San Antonio is a team that Popovich's system utilizes these lean, young guys who can shoot. I mean, that's what you look at. Kawhi Leonard, Tim Duncan. The list is as long as the day. They love that body type of player. He's a quiet guy. He has that humble humility, so he's going to fit San Antonio like a glove. I hope that that is where he goes if he ends up going in that part of the draft. The other LSU player that is likely to be drafted is Jordan Mickey. He's not projected in the first round in the Bleacher Report mock draft. I've seen him kind of high to mid-second round. But here's the thing about Mickey. I don't think Mickey made a mistake coming out, and I'll tell you why. Jordan Mickey is never, ever going to develop a jump shot from the mid-range or deeper. His offensive game, he's hit the ceiling and it's not that high. His strength is getting to the basket and playing defense. I don't think he can improve 1 year, 2 year, or 3 more years at LSU. I think he's a finished product. I think he's destined to be a second-round pick, low first-round pick in the most optimistic of scenarios. I think he's making the right choice to go now. I think he could be a very capable role player for an NBA team.
I do too. I totally agree, 100%. I think that he was ready, and he has the maturity level too. You can see that he's ready to handle it. So good luck to these guys. We're going to find out a lot about, especially with LSU, with this guy coming in, man. Oh man,
I can't wait.
And Simmons coming in, and then of course we talked a little bit off air, me, you, and Coach Perry Dance about Brandon Sampson. I don't know. He said he don't think Brandon Sampson's going to get any play time. I told you what I was going to say this week. We know he's not going to take quarterback position.
Not this year, no.
Not this
Absolutely
year.
not.
But I think that he can come off the bench. And I think that if you give this guy a chance, the improvement, I think that he's the type that when he came in to Madison Prep, a lot of people was looking at him, but he's the type that proved a lot of people wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they always say, "Hey, man, this guy coming out of nowhere. He's really good, you know." And I think now it's sort of the same thing. He's coming into college, oh, he was good, but I don't, know. I think he's the type that he's going to show that he can be a great player. So
his skill set is unquestionable. It's fantastic. I've watched his development since he was literally a freshman. He was ineligible to play his freshman year at Madison Prep because of the LHSA stuff and residency. I don't understand all this stuff. But anyway, he couldn't play, but I watched him just absolutely dominate everybody as a freshman. And he wasn't that tall at the time either. And he just continued to get better and better and better. His development has been outstanding. He's a guy who he can shoot. He can get to the basket. He's a good passer. I think with Brandon Sampson, he's going to have to. The problem for Brandon is, unlike Gerard Martin, who was 6'10", 6'11", and can shoot the J, which means you're going to play immediately. His body type is not unique. It's not elite. He's not elite physically for the college game.
Right.
He's got a great skill set. He's got good physics, but he's not. You look at him and you think, okay, this guy looks like he could be a college basketball player, but it isn't like Gerard Martin, where your mouth is hitting the ground as you're watching this guy 6'11" shooting 18-foot jumpers with ease. So he's gonna have to understand that if not going to St. John's after Coach Lavin was fired and he decided to stay at LSU, and I think Johnny Jones can help him out a lot. I think being close to his high school coach Jeff Jones, with whom he's I think has a very good positive influence on him. I think those will be good things for him, but he's not going to be the man.
Right.
He's not going to be the man. He might not play.
Right.
You might get him in as a sixth man. He's going to have to be patient, and he's a guy that might have to play 3 years, maybe 4, before going to the next level. I hope he's prepared to accept that.
Exactly. Let's see if these guys coming into a place like that, where guys are ahead of him, will he come in wanting to learn, or will he come in, with those people push him to become better, or will he take it as, go into a shell? And this is where we're going to find out what he's made of. Some people go in those type of situations, and those people actually will motivate them to want to start a position, or they'll try to learn from them. They'll look at them as more of a, let me get up under their wing, instead of going in more competitive and, sour grapes because I feel like I'm better, this and that. So we're going to find out what he's all about.
Yeah, is he going to come in wanting to learn, or is he going to come in wanting to play immediately? It's going to be. He's going to have to. Look. Going from high school to college, whether you're an athlete or not, is a growing and mature is a big part of growing up into the world. I mean, and beyond things that even the books can teach you. I mean, you really are meeting the world. And can he grow up? Can he have that maturity? By the way, folks, coming up in 8 minutes, we have
Noel Jackson
with Music Satisfaction here on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. Last chance to get on line. We had one caller earlier who was kind of shy. Don't be afraid to talk to us. 225-343-9927. 225-343-9927. Last call, folks. Last call.
But, we was talking about Cleveland today, and I had some other news about Cleveland. Me and Perry was talking about this. Man, there's a couple more people I had to add on to my T-shirt, Eric. It's been a couple of more shootings here in Cleveland. We know about Tamir Rice. Was a Cleveland officer that was acquitted here on actually the other day, made it on the 27th, I think, of killing 2 unarmed African-American citizens by the names of Timothy Russell and Melissa Williams. The officer's name was Michael Brelo. He was found not guilty of felony involuntary manslaughter. They actually shot inside this car 137 times, and they actually acquitted the cop. They said that they couldn't really prove which bullet, I guess, came from what gun killed these 2 people in the car, so the judge found him not guilty. He had a judge trial, so the judge found him not guilty of involuntary manslaughter. And I was just discussing with you before the show how if they got some laws in Texas that I know for sure that, and other places, that if I go in with someone, 4 or 5 different people, and just so happen all of us get to shooting and someone gets killed, and they don't know what gun from the 5 of us killed that person. All 5 of us are going in jail, and we're going to be responsible because we were all participating in the same crime, and either more officers should have been arrested in this in this incident than just one person, because they said he jumped on top of the hood and was shooting inside the car like on a movie. But after that incident about being found not guilty, the Tamir Rice incident of the 12-year-old getting shot and killed, the feds have came in and looked at Cleveland's police department. And recently here in the news, the Justice Department in Cleveland have came with a police settlement. Actually, so the police have settled with the federal government. And what they're going to do is, the Cleveland agreed to sweeping changes in how its police officers use force, treat the community, and deal with the mentally ill. Under a settlement announced Tuesday with the federal government that will put the 1,500-member department under an independent monitor. The settlement was made public 3 days after a white Cleveland patrolman was acquitted of manslaughter for his role in a 137-shot barrage of police gunfire that left 2 unarmed black suspects dead in a car. This happened in 2012.
Man.
The mayor, Frank Jackson, said the ambitious plan that was worked out over 5 months of negotiations with the U.S. Justice Department will be expensive and will take years to put in place. But he said he sees it as a chance to set an example for other cities. And what's basically is going to be, Cleveland is about 53% black in the city. And what they're going to be is a 105-page outline. They're going to make sweeping changes where the officers are going to have to be trained a certain way. Of course, they're probably going to wear body cams like me and you discussed. Mm-hmm. So, this is something that's, hey, we talked about this. We're seeing it now with the social media, with the regular media, with people like us discussing it. It's going to be sweeping changes, and I kind of, I have mixed feelings about it. I'm sorry that the guy was able to be acquitted. The family, feel like they has no
right.
has gotten no justice. But on the other hand, I am starting to see with the Baltimore riots, with the other actions and people out protesting, that I'm starting to see a little push here of change.
This cop, if his career in law enforcement doesn't work out, maybe he could be a replacing member of the Hot Boys with 175 shots to clear the block, as BG would say. My God. It's very hard to successfully prosecute police for their actions in the line of duty because they have an inherently dangerous job. You're going to have prosecutors in a justice system that is predisposed to working with them and empathizing with them. So, I think it's disappointing that those deaths will not have any kind of criminal accountability, but I can't really say I'm surprised. So the next step is to try to make changes going forward. What disappoints me is you have some of these politicians, a lot of whom claim to be tough on crime, who sit up there and say that the Justice Department and the White House are weakening law enforcement and they're taking the teeth out of law enforcement with these sweeping changes. Well, okay, let's see, you're supposed to wear body cameras, which keeps everyone accountable, and I honestly think it keeps the bad guys more accountable than the good guys, honestly. I think in 90-some-odd% of the cases, those body cameras are going to help out the police and back them up in their stories, you know what I'm saying, when they're doing the jobs they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
But it's okay. We have an eye in the sky to keep everyone to add an impartial witness in that of a body camera. Okay. Yeah. You have regulations saying that you can't hit people with can't hit people and strike people when you have a non-violent for a verbal confrontation. Okay, that seems pretty reasonable. All these things not only seem reasonable, they seem like common sense and things that the Cleveland Police Department should have been doing in the first place. And it really irritates me that we have some of these politicians who try to score political points and try to play identity politics over what I think are common sense reforms over people who have one of the ultimate trusts and the ultimate powers to protect and serve, and who have the ability, as we've seen over and over again, the ability to take life away should they deem it necessary. So these people should be tightly regulated. And it just disgusts me that you have a segment of politicians out there that are interested in their own careers at the expenses of people who frankly have very limited voices in the rulemaking process. So anyway, good.
They should be held to a higher standard.
They should be, because they have more power.
Just like they're held, if you do something to a police officer, the crime is extra because he's a police officer.
Right.
They should be held. If they do something, they should be double than what a regular citizen is, because they have,
I agree with you. Police. The reason that that the penalties are so stiff for attacking cops because they're very vulnerable. You're dealing with some pretty bad dudes every day. You have a target on your back.
You use your power to.
Exactly, but you also have the power to return. So if you abuse your power, you should be held to a higher standard also. Of whom much is expected, of whom much is given, much is expected. Folks, we are all out of time here on the Louisiana All American Sports Show. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week. I'm sure we'll have a very lively talk about the NBA Finals, which will be, Game 1 will have been underway by that time.
That's right.
As Bart Scott would say, can't wait. Piper?
Just want to say good luck to T. If you're listening, man, you and your daughter out there in Texas, good luck at your meet. Want to say I love them, my mother, and Coach Perry, Eric. Y'all take care, man.
As we always, as Perry would always, Perry isn't here on the show today, but that's all right. We can still, through the magic of technology, we can give Perry a voice. Through the magic of technology,
we can give
Perry a voice. Let's go. ADT, JNS, love you. Have a good afternoon.
Hail to the king and lords of love. May he protect us from the evil. Hail to the king, lords of love. May he protect us from evil. the King and Lords of Lords. May He protect us from the evil. Hail to the King, Lords of Lords. May He protect us from evil.